emulate,
Right.
you covet that kind of what you see. So, but Flair, I mean, that's a no-brainer on Flair's longevity and ring style, interview style, and things like that.
What if you like in the locker room, Ric Flair?
I
had to ask, man.
Flair, to me, he was the ultimate professional, man. I've seen Flair so many times, it's not even funny. And one time in Sarasota, Florida, I can remember where it's at. He walks into the building and he's got his baggy pants and he's got his gym shirt on and he's drinking a cup of coffee and he just come back from the gym. That's the only time I ever saw Ric Flair. Now, I've been to Ric Flair's gym and one of them, when he had 5 at one time down in Charlotte. I've been on flights with Flair. I've been in Orlando with Flair at 10 days of TV tapings to pay-per-views. Flair is Ric Flair. He dresses to the T. Like I said, I can call one time that I saw him. He's complete professional. He knows what it takes to and he's still getting over him, but the guy, he's just a complete professional. And I had a talk with him, was talking at WWF. They pulled me to the side and I had blonde hair. I just finished up my first territory. I still, I worked 100 some days, I guess. I think I had one day off and like 110. So I was getting really, that's after I left Malenko's. And WWF called and I went up and done a couple shows with them. And one I was going to wrestle Roddy Piper. And that's when Flair had the World Tag Team Champion, or World Heavyweight Champion, went to WWF same event. Here I am, I'm the champ. So he was going to do a thing with Piper. And so me and Piper and Flair, we go into a bathroom and they're like, hey, would you like to do this and this and that? And because they were doing chair matches for all the late, before our tables and chairs and all that.
Right.
So Piper came like, this chair for you, because I had the hair,
Right.
Anyway, so I went, I'm like, telling Ric Flair, I was trying to do my Ric Flair interview. We go, woo, he's laughing. He goes, that's pretty good, kid. But Ric Flair, he goes, besides that, when you take that bump in the corner, look at this. He goes, turn your head. I'm not taking that bump, but so it is, pretty cool.
I got a name I want to throw your way. About being in the locker room. I hear he's a heat seeker, what they call a heat seeker. Of course, somebody get a lot of heat in the room. Marcus Buff Bagwell.
Buff. I don't.
Buff's the stuff, man.
I never had a problem with Buff.
He's a real nice guy.
Is he? I don't know. Here's the thing I don't understand about this, and you can check this out. I mean, the guy worked for WCW for 12 years.
Yeah, he was with them a long time.
He was with them a long time, and people change. Business changes and stuff like that. I don't know. I think certain things happen in wrestling for a reason. Who knows what happened in a match with him and Booker for WWF? I guess it's still at the time. I don't know, but I think that I done a show with Buff. We done one up here in Huntington a few years back. Sometimes you just you let your ego get out there. You think you're this, you think you're that, but and you get up these other people come in and you get up the wrong crowd or whatever. Buff to me was always a pretty nice guy, but I don't know where he got that reputation at as far as, he certainly didn't have the WCW as far as in the back because he just done his own thing,
Right. I've heard what you said, but every time I've met Buff, I've sat down and me and DJ actually sat and talked to him for an hour. Yeah. We sat and asked him how he got his nickname, and he went and told me, he went through the whole spiel and how he airbrushed his own clothes. He's a super guy. But Steve, I'm a show stealer, man. I'm a talker. I wanted you to jump in, man.
I would like to know anything, because you guys know I'm crazy, anything you know of Scott Levy Ray. Anything at all, because I'm like,
Scotty. Well, one thing about Scott is he was trained by Malenko's. He was down there before I was. Yeah, he was down there. Well, he worked in Florida, so a lot of guys that came through Florida, they ended up going to Larry's camp. Went over to training because he was such a craftsman and knew the business and had a ring, of course. And there was a time when not everyone could just get into professional wrestling, and you went to a reputable trainer, and if they took you in, then that was one thing. But he had been in Florida, and when I got there, he was actually booking out in Portland, and of course I would have loved to have went there and worked, But my dealing with him, of course, we was in WCW together, and I've been on several independent shows with him. several years back. The guy's probably, first of all, he's probably borderline genius. You know, I'm not,
Yeah,
I'm not, you know, Mensa maybe or something. The thing is, he's one of these guys. I'll say this: contrary to his personal appearances, and contrary to the way he may present himself at times, the guy, again, he's probably borderline genius for one, and two, probably one of the best minds in wrestling. He knew angles and he knew how to set things up. He booked for them. He had been to different places. And he's one of these guys that, as Dean had told me years ago, and some guys get consumed with this, don't let the business use you, use the business. And I think Scott probably, or Raven, he's probably one of these guys, he's used the business for his benefit. He didn't let the business use him. And we was at a meeting one time, and Bischoff running his mouth about, you know, if you have a problem with this and that, and some guy from Florida, who I won't mention his name, I'll just call him Frankie because I know his name. I can't think of his last name all of a sudden. But anyway, he was there basically. I don't even know if I won't even say that. He was there, and I don't want to sound disrespectful to anyone. Some people knew there were talent enhancements. Some people knew, hey, I'm just getting a check, and everyone kind of knows your role. You're an adult, you know. And Bischoff just threw something out there. This guy speaks up like the village idiot. Everyone's looking at him like, well, he was no longer there. I mean, he wasn't even on a contract anyway, but it's like, I think he would have thought Bischoff was like saying, here's your chance to say whatever you want to say. And this guy just said it. And it's probably what most of us was thinking, but you just didn't say it.
Right.
So anyway, to answer your question though, Raymond just says, you know, hey, F it, you know. He gets up. Now, here's one guy's a total goof, basically, that didn't get it, wasn't on contract, right? And probably never had been anywhere, never will be anywhere, never was anywhere.
Yeah.
So, needless to say, he didn't get up and leave or anything, but everyone looked at him like, you won't be back, you know. But in the same meeting, you know, Raven's sitting there and, you know, they're listening to this and that, and so Bischoff goes, you know, hey, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't know exactly how he said, they may say, you know, if you don't like it, you just get up and walk out. Raven said, like, you know, he walked out, everyone said, and he's sitting there, and he walked out. Next day, he's at Vince's TV, you know. So, you know, he knew how to use the business, and even though he's done hardcore and been at ECW, the guy actually knows how to wrestle. He knows how to take care of himself in the ring, you know, like I said, if you look at his appearance, you probably think, you know, that's why I don't judge people myself, but people probably think, oh man, he ain't got a tattoo in the neck, I need a real job now. Well, first of all, he don't need a real job because he probably saved every dime he's got. He's smart, and
probably invested in something.
he does comedy.
I heard a story about him before he ever became Raven. He was Johnny Polo in WWE, and he was supposed to be the next Bobby Heenan. He was going to be booking and all this stuff. And he said, no, he wanted to be a wrestler. So I'm thinking, I have a lot of respect for him just because he threw all that away and probably cut ties with Vince. Because I heard when he did come back with Vince, he didn't even know he was there. Who hired him? But to go and do what he loved. And I just like, you know,
I saw guys. Here's another example, right, of what kind of brain he's got, you know, and I don't particularly like this guy. And that's Conan. Okay, I don't.
Oh, really?
I heard a lot about that.
He's a user. He uses people. To me, he just kind of a trashy kind of guy. That's just my opinion. And I don't hardly ever say anything negative about any one of the boys. So I don't mean that way as a real dig towards him. He was just kind of trashy, like he was NWA type or NWO type thing. He just wanted all about him, hooray for me, you know. But in all due respect, you know, the guy was a huge star at one time. He was up there back in the 80s with like Hogan.
He was like a Hogan.
He was so huge and so over, you know. So I don't mean disrespect. He knew how to draw money. But I actually, and he booked, and he done a lot of stuff, and he did in WCW. He was very well respected. And I'm not saying I don't respect him. I'm just saying I just didn't like the way he presented himself to certain people because he used people to get his benefit. And instead of being a team player like All About Me kind of thing. But I will say, and to give you the story, what kind of respect Raven had. I saw guys that actually that knew how to work and knew how to run angles and knew a lot about our business that you would think have it in. And Conan is an example. I saw him. I was sitting there, you know, like right here by DJ, and Conan walked in and goes, "Hey, you know, Scotty, I gotta do this, what do you think about that? And they're running ideas off, I saw several
Yeah.
people
They
that
take me credit for it.
Oh, well, he probably did. There you go. That's part of the thing. He probably went back to Vince or someone, or excuse me, to Eric and said, "Oh, I got this great idea." But no, I mean, he was like, "Hey, Scott, this is what I got to do. What do you think?" And Raven started feeding him, here's what I would do. This,
Yeah.
And so people respect him enough to come to him. And I think probably, and I don't know this for sure, but I would imagine in ECW, I'm sure probably Paul and Terry Funk and any guys that come through there, they was probably going to him saying, like Steve Austin, even before he went to Vince, I'm sure some of them guys would come up to him and say, "Hey, what's going to get over here? And him feeding them stuff."
I remember when I was watching WCW, I was so excited because they finally put Raven with somebody again, and it was with Vampiro, who I love Vampiro. And they totally just dropped the ball with that, I think, and then they moved when Raven left. But also, it looked like he had gold mine running with Sting, and that just came to an end. And did you ever meet Vampiro?
Oh yeah, I wrestled Vampiro. In fact, I probably had one of my top matches with Vampiro. And all Vampiro, when he come into Mexico, they just loved him. I mean, Raven, we saw Conan there. He was so over there, and there was soap operas and this and that.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day, well, when Vampiro come in, basically anything he could do, and this just shows his the ability he learned, and he just stayed on the rope and he just flared his hair back and everyone just popped,
Yeah.
He was so over,
Right.
and he was a very, very talented guy. And I'll say this, I had a really good match with him. My first tour of Japan, he was supposed to be on it, but he had hurt his shoulder, so I didn't meet him originally then. And when I met him, he actually went to a couple people, Paul Orndorff being one, I know for sure. But we had a match, and he come up to me and he said, "Hey, they're going to give me some pay-per-views." He said, "Would you be interested in doing a pay-per-view with me? I'd give you a push and this and that." And he actually took the idea, and I know for a fact when I went to Atlanta to meet with Paul on a deal, and it fell through. But Vampiro had actually went to the office and asked him, "Hey, why don't you let me work with Bobby Blaze and do an angle?" And that's always an honor, but again, it's one of the things that fell through. But man, he was a tremendous talented guy, and just another guy that had a good mind. He minded his own business, and he'd go out there and he'd work his butt off. He could do so much. Like I said, you got a guy that's just starting off, just shaking his hair and getting over with people. Like, whoa, he has something to him, and he still has that mystique to him. I think.
Yeah.
DJ, go ahead, DJ.
Well, when I ask you a question, feel free not to answer, okay? And you worked in WCW with Macho Man and Scott Hall and Kevin Nash and Sean Walton, X-Pac. The rumor was that Macho got fired from WWF because he slept with Stephanie McMahon. Do you know of anything like that?
Never heard anything like that.
Never heard anything like that? That was always a rumor.
I heard that.
That's why him and Vince, that's why he got fired. That's why he stopped doing wrestling and went to commentary, and that's why initially he left WWF.
Here's the thing, and I got a buddy of mine, we talk all the time about different things. We always finish with this. Then again, I could be wrong. If you don't know, if you don't know, and I'm not saying you do or you don't know, and I haven't heard that rumor, but you can go